Got to give the people, give the people what they want. The people, on a Saturday morning, I want to talk about synthetic division. So let's get it. 2.3, why use synthetic division? Well, let's talk about it. First, synthetic division is a shortcut for long division of polynomials. We've learned both methods. Synthetic division, typically faster. But more importantly, B, you can use synthetic division to quickly test factors of a polynomial when you are not given a factor to begin with. So all the time, they're like, yeah, divide this polynomial by this factor that they gave you. Well, at some times, you're not going to have the factors, so you need to be able to test to find out which factors might work, and you want to be able to do it quickly. Synthetic division can help you do that. So let's show and talk about why. So let me give you this example. So if they say write the following polynomial in factored form, and they give you x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. So typically right now, what would happen is they'd be like, oh yeah, like x plus 3 is a factor, or x minus 16 is a factor, or whatever. But they're not telling us any of that. So the key, when we're looking at these for right now, on these more simple ones, is the constant. 6 is the key. So I need to find the factors of the constant term. And that constant term is 6. So the factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. So now I can have positive and negative versions. So basically, I need to test the positive and negative version of 1, the positive and negative version of 2, the positive and negative version of 3, and the positive and negative version of 6. Really, all I got to do is find one of them that works. So what I'm going to start doing is synthetic division because it makes my life go faster. So check this out. So first I'm going to see, okay, well, can I take this and divide it by, if I say that the root is, let's say I'm saying that the root is 1, positive 1. That means my factor would be x minus 1, right? So I'm testing to see if this factor x minus 1 works, if I get a root of 1. So I'm going to put a 1 here, and I'm going to do some synthetic division. So this is 1x to the third minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. And I'm literally just checking to see, does this work? Right? And I want to check it quickly, so let's see. All right? This becomes 1, so why don't you do your synthetic division? This becomes a 1, this becomes a 1. What is this? Minus 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Minus 6 times 1 is negative 6. Oh, sniggity snap. Notice that there is no remainder, which means x minus 1 is a factor. Bang, bang. We got 1 on our first one. So what do I know so far? I know that x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals, so far, I know x minus 1 because we figured out that this is a factor, times, and what was left over? 1x squared minus 1x minus 6 times x squared minus 1x minus 6. I found my first full factor. Well, now look what I have here. I have a polynomial that I can then factor. Boom, boom, boom. So I could say, okay, well, I got x squared minus 6. Why don't you go ahead and finish factoring that for me? Pause it right here and do that. Cool. You did it. And you were like, okay, blank plus blank has to equal -1, and blank times blank has to equal -6. -6, -1, 2, 3. There we go. -3x and 2x. So we end up with x times x minus 3 plus 2. Haha, look what we have now. This factor stays the same, x minus 1. And this x squared minus 1x minus 6 became x minus 3 times x plus 2. I took this whole initial problem and I figured out its factors. And notice the factors. This one had a x minus 1, so this one had a root of 1. Remember we said a root, my options were positive and -1. Well, there's the positive one. This one has a root, this one right here has a root of 3. Remember we said all either positive or -3 has to be a root, all right? And this one has a root of -2. Oh, -2 was one of my options. Notice in this one, there's no 6, so none of the 6's would have worked. I'm literally just going to show you one more piece. I'm going to erase mine, but you're not going to erase. But check this out. This can all go, this can all go. Let us pretend that, erase a little bit more here. Let's pretend like we didn't get lucky the first time. Let's pretend that we started with, I don't know, let's say we said, oh, let's start out with -1 as my root, right? So if we were going to start off with -1, that means my root would have been x plus 1. So let's say we wanted to test, does x plus 1, does the root x plus 1 work? Now we already know it doesn't, but let's see what would have happened. So let's do -1, because the root would have been -1. All right, so let's test it. -1 times 1 is -1. -2 plus -1 is -3. -1 and -3 is 3. 5 plus 3 is -2, and -1 times -2 is +2. Notice I end up with a remainder, which means that x plus 1 is not a factor. I chose poorly, and I'd have to try something else, okay? So if I get that remainder in synthetic division, that means that's not one of the factors that I'm going to have to use. This is a piece that we're going to be doing in class on, oh, Jordan's crying. This is a piece we're going to be doing in class on Monday. Pretty short video. Have a good rest of your weekend.